I paid back a favor, but I owe like another 650 favors to Bill King, who's been on our show here for almost 4 years on a weekly basis, every Wednesday, giving us his thoughts on college football because he is the king of college football talk. I finally went on his show, talked a little College World Series last week. Bill, do you need me on another 650 times, or is one just enough to pay you back?
You just leave me in your will. It's not going to be enough.
I don't know how much you're going to get out of that, but I'll do it if that's what you want. We're left here after the College World Series of like, you got it. The team just put on this great run, and one that no one expected, to make it to the College World Series and finish one game short of playing for the national championship. And you lost to a team that ends up winning the national title that was in even more dire straits than Arkansas was going into the postseason. And we just finished a conversation, Bill, about how Major League Baseball is they've diluted the regular season to the point where it's like college baseball. All you got to do is make the tournament. You can be mediocre, make the tournament. In this sport, you catch fire, you can win a title. It's pretty tough to do that in other sports.
Yeah, it is. You can never do that in football, and I don't even think you could do it. Basketball is certainly more doable than football by far. We know that. But Villanova 1985, NC State 83, and there's more recent examples. But no, in football you could never do it. But it's a wonderful thing in baseball, unless you're Tony Vols, and then it's not so good if you're 57-9. You play 66 games, 67 games, and you don't lose 10, and you don't get there.
So, I mean, let me ask a question about, like, legacies of coaches. And you just saw a head coach in Mike Bianco win his first natty. I think he won as a player, national title, but never as a coach. He had trouble getting his program to Omaha. This was the second time in 22 years. This is a sport where the all-time winningest coach, Mike Martin, did not win a national championship. Those wins in the regular season and even to get to Omaha mean something. Yesterday there were some callers that – they appreciate Dave Van Horn, but don't think he'll ever win a national championship. And I just don't know how you can look at a coach and say, yeah, he'll never win a natty until he actually does. But until you win a national title, are you allowed to be like in the namesake of the greatest coaches of all time? Because I think Mike Martin belongs on that list.
I think it depends on the resume. I mean, Coach Van Horn has done so much and won so much and had so many opportunities and put that team in so many opportunities to win it all. I don't think you can Kirby Smart him. And obviously Kirby's resume is not as long, but I was hearing that about Kirby Smart until last year. And he'd done everything. He'd come within an overtime of winning it all, won the league. But in baseball, what if Tony Vitello goes another 10 years and doesn't win it?
Right.
Got to be hearing the same thing probably.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Got a lot of interconference transfers here. We've seen a ton of them recently in baseball. You got a lot of them that have come through in football, basketball too. What's your opinion on the interconference transfers? Because they used to be something that was outlawed, at least in the SEC.
That used to be totally taboo. And now anything goes with that. Carter Young, shortstop at Vanderbilt, is going to LSU. Now, his mom tweeted, I don't know if you guys saw this. She's in a tizzy. She tweeted he was told not to come back.
Really?
She says he had no choice. He was told not to come back. He's a slick little shortstop, did not hit the ball well this year, and got benched late in the postseason. But Christian Little, a big arm at Vanderbilt, at LSU. Tommy Tanks at LSU. Chase Dolander came into Tennessee and became the pitcher of the year in the league out of Georgia Southern. I mean, but yeah, inside the league, it's happening more. Vanderbilt had kind of a middle relief pitch who actually went to Tennessee and pitched a little bit this year.
Bill, on the subject of football, there is the biggest news, I guess, around the full landscape of college football is the ACC schedule. And I think that's the way, ACC now becomes a second Power 5 conference to do away with divisions. First, obviously, the Big 12 because they just didn't have enough teams, and now the ACC. I think that's the direction all these conferences are going in. So the question I want to ask you, who's the last conference out of the Power 5 to hold on to divisions?
Well, it might not be in the name of we're just going to hold on to it, but we're not ready to make a decision, would probably be the SEC. Mm-hmm. Because the SEC wants to ensure that if we're going to go to 9, we're going to expand the playoffs. No reason to self-inflict a wound, which is an additional game, if we're not going to add on to the playoffs here in a couple of years. So I don't know that we'll see anything soon there. Or we could see something that says we're going to play 8 until we know more, and then we can adjust. But I would think it'd be the SEC.
Does the addition of Texas and OU in a few years not affect that? Do you think that we'll play a year or two with 8-team divisions?
No, I think they'll do away with divisions, but may leave it open to go to 9 games.
Okay.
They might do that. Now, again, that's tough. We know scheduling isn't as simple as just picking up the phone, and it's tough. And then you've got non-conference agreements that you may have. Look, if you schedule 8, that means you've scheduled 4 non-conference games, and in 2 years you decide you're going to 9. You got to make some phone calls, cancel some relationships, and also write some checks. It's complicated, but that's kind of what they're sitting on right now.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of canceled games, especially when we already know who some of these teams are going to be playing in the first couple of weeks of 2030. Like, it's just the college football landscape is going to change so much that some checks are going to definitely have to be written. And one person who is getting a check kind of added on to his check, Mike Leach and his contract extension. What were your thoughts on Mississippi State extending the Pirate Mike Leach?
You know what? Didn't even see it. Tell me what they did. I didn't even notice it.
I think they tacked 2 years on.
Yeah.
You know how it works in Mississippi, Bill. They can only sign 4-year contracts for public employees.
Correct.
So I think this was just an acknowledgement that, we got to at least extend this a little bit because we can't do more than 4 years.
Let me tell you something. Mike's a fantastic guy. I've known Mike a long time. But it's always about the money. And he's still mad about the situation at Texas Tech isn't rectified. He's very mad about it. And he's never going to get over it. But I'm sure that's just a relationship thing and a common practice thing about his contract. And I know they're happy with him. You're limited there. You're limited in personnel. And the West is just getting tougher, so you're not advancing any further. Ole Miss is ahead of you in personnel right now. So I think they're happy with him because at that job you need somebody who wins more than you should. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what he does best.
Last thing before we let you go here, but I wanted to ask about the Big 12 commissioner. The new commissioner they've just hired, Brett Yormark, had worked for Jay-Z's Rock Nation and ran the New Jersey Nets, moved them to Brooklyn to become the Brooklyn. This is somebody that comes from the professional realm of sports, not the college realm. And it seems to me like this is an acknowledgement. I mean, look, we've got an SEC commissioner who rose up through the ranks of college administrators, was a commissioner somewhere else at the Sun Belt, and now is the most powerful, maybe the most powerful person in college sports. Yormark is from a totally different part of the sporting industry, and it feels to me like this is the Big 12 saying, we first have to do more than anything, we got to get a better TV contract. And here's somebody that does a lot of negotiating that might be like the first thing on his agenda.
Everything is about the TV money. Nothing matters more than the TV money. And you're exactly right. I was going to say that before you did. And that's what this is about. And they have deemed that he is the best person to fight for them with ammunition that's not equal to the SEC or the Big Ten.
Right.
And we'll see what all happens with it. If they could get out of $30-something million area and get themselves up into the 40 and 50 per team, because the SEC and the Big Ten, the SEC and Big Ten are projected as to 80, 90 million a team here in the near future. And in fact, the one that the Big Ten is getting reported on, they're talking about $1 billion a year in the league. Wow. Not $1 billion deal per year.
That was a
for
B.
The league. So,
that was with a B, I think I heard. That's
correct.
Amazing.
That's what you're fighting.
So for Yormark, I mean, what a job you're going to be moving into. The most valuable pieces of your league for television watchers are joining the SEC. Cincinnati, correct. BYU, Houston, and UCF don't even come close to replacing that. It's not even a drop in the bucket. Like, it's not the easiest job in the world to convince TV partners that this league that is still alive, but in what the other leagues are, is worth paying that much money for.
Your best bet is the competition. You're not going to beat those big leagues with Fox and ESPN. but Big Tech might get involved. NBC's talking about getting involved. That's where you make your money. You've got to carve out a new niche if you're going to make that extra money, I would think.
Well, Bill, I do want to get your opinion, and I know I've asked you about him multiple times, but he did finally commit last Thursday. What are your thoughts about Arch Manning and Texas? And he could be the starting quarterback for the Longhorns when they do enter the SEC.
Yeah, his second game would be at Alabama. I don't think he comes in and he beats out Quinn Ewers for day one, but if he started, it would be game 2 against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. That'd be interesting.
That
but
would be.
Apparently they were a little bit behind going into that trip. The Texas visit, the last visit of 3. He hadn't taken 2 others. And apparently they made up the ground. Not only made up the ground, but they eclipsed Georgia enough to where he told Peyton, I'm ready to, because he talked to Peyton about it, among others, Cooper, his dad, I'm ready to go. And they said, look, no reason to wait. If you know what you're doing, let's go. Let's not sit on this. And everybody I talked to from Georgia and Texas thought Georgia was in the lead going into that trip. Everybody. And apparently that got eclipsed.
Bill, I mean, we had Tom Pagnozzi. Remember Tom Pagnozzi, catcher for the Cardinals? He played for Arkansas.
I do.
His son went to Ole Miss and played baseball there. So when the Rebels would come play at Baum, Tom Pagnozzi, who paid for the Razorback clubhouse, was wearing Ole Miss colors. Does this mean, I mean, what are the chances we see Peyton Manning and Eli Manning wearing Texas burnt orange at some point? What do you think?
I don't think Peyton will do that. That's that orange on orange thing. I don't think those guys are very, very go team oriented. I don't think you'll see him in public. I'd be shocked. No, maybe Archie. I don't know about Peyton and Eli.
I'd pay money. Well, they don't need the money for it, but I'd pay money just to see that.
Partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's Wimbledon Finals, Major League Baseball, the latest fighting news, and even next season's early NFL futures. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV. That's BLEAV to get the bonus and get into the action. Bet online, where the game starts.